It's exceedingly rare that a single isolated statistic can just completely fracture your understanding of how fast the world is moving.
Oh, yeah. Completely.
But I want you to just sit with these numbers for a second. Think about Netflix.
Okay.
It took them 3.5 years to reach 1 million users.
Right, which was considered incredibly fast at the time.
Exactly. Is a big deal. And then Twitter, 2 years.
Yeah.
Facebook managed to hit that million user mark in about 10 months. Then you have Instagram, which, that felt like an absolute rocket ship.
Like a total anomaly of viral growth, yeah.
Right. And they took 2.5 months to reach 1 million people. And then there's ChatGPT.
Right.
It reached 1 million users in exactly 5 days.
It is just, it's a staggering acceleration.
5 days.
Yeah, we are talking about an adoption curve that is completely unprecedented in the history of human technology. Even the iPhone took over 2 months to sell 1 million units.
You literally go to sleep on a Monday. And by Friday, 1 million people have completely fundamentally changed their relationship with a computer.
Right. The friction of adoption was essentially zero.
Zero. And that velocity, well, that's exactly why we are here today. Because if you are joining us, whether you are, trying to figure out how this impacts your industry, your personal productivity, or your investments, our goal in this deep dive is to basically tear apart the hype.
Exactly. We need to look at the actual mechanics of how this is being used on the ground.
Right. And we are pulling all of this from a very specific, very grounded source text. We're looking at Neil Dagger's book, The ChatGPT Millionaire. Making money online has never been this easy.
And look, the title is admittedly provocative, right?
Oh, totally. Very internet marketing.
Yeah, perhaps even leaning into the sensational. But if you look past that flashy cover, the underlying mechanics Dagger explores are incredibly sound.
Right.
What we are really unpacking today is a fundamental economic and honestly cognitive paradigm shift.
Okay, let's unpack this. What do you mean by a cognitive shift?
Well, for the entirety of human history, we have lived in a world of information scarcity.
Correct.
Even after the internet was invented, finding the right information, synthesizing it, formatting it, and applying it to a specific problem that took significant human capital and time.
Right, you had to physically sit there and act as the synthesizer.
Exactly. You had to do the work. But we are now crossing this threshold into a world of absolute information abundance.
Which changes the whole game.
Completely. The challenge for you, the listener, is no longer finding information. The challenge is knowing how to direct a machine to generate it, organize it, refine it, and ultimately apply it to real-world problems.
So to cross that threshold, I know Dagger argues that we have to basically rewire our brains.
Yes.
He says right out of the gate that if you want to be successful with this technology, you have to stop treating it like a search engine. And I'll be honest, I struggle with this.
I think most people do, honestly.
Yeah, because I open up that little chat window. And my instinct is just to type in a keyword phrase, just like I've been doing on Google for 20 years.
And that is the cognitive trap.
Right.
We have been conditioned by decades of search algorithms to think in terms of static queries. You input a few keywords, the algorithm searches a massive index, and it retrieves a list of links to pages that already exist.
It's like going to a library card catalog.
Exactly. It is a one-way street of retrieval. You extract the data and you leave. But Dagger's approach demands a complete behavioral shift.
Okay.
He introduces the AI not as a database to be queried, but as a companion for professional and financial success.
A companion?
Right. It is a generative relationship, not an extractive one.
I have to say, the word companion sounds almost uncomfortably science fiction.
It does a bit, yeah.
Like, it makes it sound like we're supposed to be forming emotional bond with a server farm or something.
Well, it sounds a bit anthropomorphic, sure. But Dagger uses the term to emphasize collaboration. A search engine doesn't collaborate with you. It just hands you a stack of files.
Right.
A companion or a collaborator can take an incomplete thought, push back, offer alternatives, and automate tedious tasks.
It's working with you.
Exactly. It is designed to create entirely new workflows and revenue streams that were previously blocked by either your lack of time or, your lack of a specific technical skill set.
He actually proves this point in a really clever way right in the introduction of the book.
Oh, the Steve Jobs thing?
Yes. Dagger didn't write the introduction to the book himself. He had the AI write it.
Right.
But he didn't just write an intro. He specifically prompted the AI to write the introduction in the style of Steve Jobs.
Which is brilliant.
And when you read it, it has that exact grandiosity, that rhythmic cadence Jobs was famous for. It talks
Yeah.
about revolutionizing workflows and creating new opportunities, framing the AI not as a tool, but as a catalyst.
That stylistic choice is so fascinating because Jobs was famous for framing technology as an amplifier of human potential.
The bicycle for the mind.
Exactly, the bicycle for the mind. By forcing the AI to adopt the Jobs persona, Dagger isn't just showing off a neat party trick.
No.
He is signaling to the reader that you must approach this interface with vision. You have to be the director.
Let me stop you right there, because the director idea is where the rubber meets the road for me.
Okay.
If I'm the director, I need to know the capabilities of my staff. I always think about this technology like this. Imagine you have just hired the most brilliant, infinitely fast intern in the world.
I love this analogy.
Right. This intern has ingested every book, every manual, every blog post, every Reddit thread ever written. They operate at the speed of light.
But.
They have absolutely zero real-world intuition. They have never lived a day on Earth.
Right.
So if I just look at that intern and say, hey, write a good marketing email, and then I just walk out of the room, what actually happens?
Well, you would receive a perfectly grammatical, structurally flawless email that is completely hollow.
Just totally generic.
Yes. It would average out all the marketing emails it has ever processed and give you something incredibly boring that fundamentally fails to connect with a human audience.
So the output is only as good as the management.
Precisely.
I have to say, write a marketing email to a demographic of exhausted 30-something parents who need meal prep solutions.
Yes, give it constraints.
Right. Use a sympathetic tone, keep it under 200 words so they actually read it on their phones, and make sure the call to action feels supportive, not pushy.
Exactly that. You are providing the context, the constraints, and the emotional resonance.
And the machine just does the typing.
The machine simply executes the synthesis. And once you understand that dynamic, Dagger lists out the immediate, practical ways this intern can be put to work.
Like what?
Well, he outlines generating leads by personalizing communication at scale. He talks about boosting online visibility by instantly formatting content for SEO.
Okay, let's hover on that SEO point. Because formatting content for search engine optimization usually takes a dedicated specialist.
Right, it's a whole job.
You have to research keywords, structure the H1 and H2 tags, ensure the keyword density is right without, keyword stuffing.
It takes hours.
But Dagger says you can just hand a raw transcript to the AI and say, format this for SEO targeting these 3 keywords, and it does the structural heavy lifting in 2 seconds.
It's incredible.
It's crunching data-driven insights on consumer habits. It's doing the job of a junior analyst, a copywriter, an SEO specialist, and an administrative assistant, all at once.
I think it's vital for you listening to this to just do a quick mental inventory of your own workflow.
Yeah, think about your week.
Exactly. Think about your average week. What are the specific tasks that create the most friction?
Oh, drafting emails for me.
Right. Or is it the blank page paralysis when you have to draft a quarterly update? The hours spent formatting a client proposal?
Ugh, the worst.
What Dagger is proposing is that the first draft phase of modern knowledge work has been entirely commoditized.
Meaning you shouldn't be doing it.
You should never start with a blank page again. Never.
Which brings us to the actual mechanics of how you get this intern to do the work. Dagger calls it the art of the prompt.
The most important skill right now.
And honestly, this seems to be the only skill that actually matters anymore. He starts with some basics. Set clear goals, experiment, and always human edit.
Crucial.
But one of the most practical tips he gives is asking for multiple responses.
No, this changes everything.
Right. If I need a title for a presentation, my instinct is to just ask it for a title. Dagger says, don't ask for one, ask for 20.
Because the economics of generation have changed.
Explain that.
Well, the marginal cost in time and money to generate 20 options instead of 1 is effectively 0.
Right. It takes the same amount of time.
Exactly. You are completely altering the brainstorming process.
Yeah.
You aren't asking for the final answer. You're asking for a menu of options from which your human taste can select.
But the absolute gold mine in this text, the thing Dagger presents as his ultimate technique, is what he calls the act as hack.
Yes. The core framework.
I really want to spend some real time here, because this is the secret sauce.
The ACT as framework is incredibly powerful. The architecture of the prompt is very specific.
How does he formulate it?
Dagger formulates it like this: act as a blank profession. You will take blank criteria into account, and my first request is X.
Okay, to a non-technical person, that just sounds like you're playing pretend with a computer.
It does sound a bit silly.
Like, act as a lawyer.
Yeah.
Why does typing those specific words fundamentally change the quality of the output? What is actually happening under the hood there?
So to understand why it works, we have to look at the mechanics of large language models.
Okay.
At their absolute core, these models are predicting the next most likely word or token based on the statistical distribution of their massive training data.
It's just guessing the next word.
Essentially, yes. If you just ask an open-ended question like, how do I evaluate a business? The AI pulls from its entire vast, generalized knowledge base.
The whole internet.
Right. The probability space it searches is too wide. It might pull a bit from a high school economics textbook, a bit from a Wikipedia article, and a bit from a generic blog.
It's giving you the mathematical average of the entire internet,
Precisely. The answer averages out to be generic.
which is boring.
Extremely. But the moment you start your prompt with, act as a seasoned Silicon Valley angel investor,
Oh, I see.
you are instantly applying a massive restrictive mathematical filter over that probability space.
You're narrowing the search.
Yes. You force the AI to narrow its predictive focus exclusively to documents, transcripts, and books associated with venture capital.
Wow.
It immediately adopts the specific vocabulary words like burn rate, runway, and TAM. It adopts the risk assessment frameworks of a venture capitalist. You are effectively constraining the machine to make its output sharper.
Okay, that makes so much sense. I used to think of it like plugging different software cartridges into an old video game console.
Right.
But based on what you're saying, it's more like a massive infinite library. If I just ask a question, the librarian runs around the entire building grabbing random pages from random sections.
Yes.
But if I say, act as an angel investor, I am locking the librarian inside one specific room on one specific floor and telling them they can only use the books in that room to answer my question.
That is a much more accurate way to visualize the mechanism.
Okay.
You are limiting the parameters to increase the density and expertise of the response. And Dagger provides an extensive list of these specific personas.
Oh yeah, he lists over 20 examples in the text.
The breadth is wild.
It really is. He has prompts for acting as a productivity coach, focusing on time management and priority setting, a startup founder focusing on customer acquisition, a negotiation coach.
That one is fascinating.
Think about that you can practice your salary negotiation with an AI that has been trained on thousands of successful negotiation transcripts.
It's a simulator.
Exactly. It can play the role of this stingy HR manager, and you have to convince it to give you a raise. He even has one where it acts as a DJ to help you plan a wedding playlist based on specific crowd demographics.
But the crucial step that makes any of these personas actually yield high-value results is iteration.
Iteration.
Dagger emphasizes the regenerate and refine functions.
Right. This is where I think people get frustrated and quit.
Oh, absolutely.
They try one prompt, the output is a bit robotic, and they say, this thing's useless, and they close the window.
Which is the worst thing you can do.
Dagger says you don't delete the chat and start over. You treat it like an ongoing conversation.
Yes.
If the output is dry, you literally type, that was too academic, make it punchier, or rewrite this in the style of Joe Rogan.
Which again shifts the probability space.
Right.
By asking for the style of a specific podcaster, you force the AI to adopt a conversational, highly inquisitive, perhaps slightly colloquial tone. You are acting as the director after the first take.
That was good, but this time, give me more energy.
Exactly.
So, if knowing how to manipulate the probability space is half the battle, we need to look at what happens when you apply this framework to actual monetizable work.
Business application.
Right. Dagger dedicates a massive section to what he calls the superhuman freelancer. And this is where the theoretical potential meets the very real, very brutal, practical economy.
He takes a very hard look at the freelance marketplace platforms like Fiverr, Upwork, and People Per Hour.
Yeah.
These platforms rely on arbitrage, right?
Yeah.
Clients paying for someone else's time and specific skill to generate digital goods.
Right.
Dagger points out that the barrier to entry for baseline content creation has essentially vanished overnight.
Let's talk real numbers, because Dagger breaks down the economics. And honestly, if I were a traditional copywriter, I would be terrified.
It is sobering.
He pulls up examples from Fiverr. A freelancer charging roughly $200 or 160 British pounds for a 1,000-word SEO-optimized blog post.
Okay.
And the turnaround time they are promising is 4 days.
4 days of waiting for a client who needs that content to drive traffic today.
Right. And Dagger shows how, using the iterative prompting we just discussed, asking for a target audience profile, then a list of titles, then an outline, then generating the text paragraph by paragraph to maintain quality, you can generate that exact same 1,000-word SEO-optimized post in about 4 minutes.
4 minutes compared to 4 days. And the disruption goes far deeper than a basic blog post.
Oh, it gets crazier.
Dagger looks at the high-ticket world of ghostwriting. He cites an example of a ghostwriter charging $2,100 for a 40,000-word ebook.
Hold on. Let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
Because if I hear 40,000-word ebook generated by AI, my immediate thought is that it's going to be unreadable garbage.
That is a very common assumption.
Even if the AI types fast, the output limit is usually around a few thousand words. If you just ask it to write a whole book, it's going to loop on itself, repeat the same phrases, and lose the narrative thread entirely.
Yes, it will.
Does Dagger actually address the massive quality degradation that happens with long-form AI generation?
That is a highly perceptive critique, and yes, Dagger does address it. He outlines a highly structured, sequential methodology.
Okay, how does he do it?
He absolutely does not suggest typing write a 40,000-word book and walking away. He breaks down the workflow to maintain structural integrity.
So it's modular.
Very modular. First, you prompt the AI to act as a best-selling author in your specific genre and ask for 20 potential book angles.
And you pick the best one.
You select one. Then you prompt for a comprehensive 20-chapter outline.
Right.
You, the human, review and heavily edit that outline. Then you prompt for a detailed sub-outline of just chapter 1.
Oh, wow. Getting granular.
Only after that is approved do you prompt the AI to write the first section of chapter 1.
So you're essentially micromanaging the generation process block by block.
Exactly. And when the AI inevitably hits its token output limit and stops mid-sentence,
Which it always does.
right, you simply type keep going or continue. You string these modular generations together.
Okay, I see.
While it might take you a few intensely focused hours of careful curation, aggressive editing, and logical connecting, you have produced the raw material for a 40,000-word manuscript in an afternoon.
He even points out that clients on these platforms are paying $75 just for a 12-chapter book outline and waiting 3 days for delivery.
Which is wild.
The AI structures a comprehensive outline in 15 seconds. But I'm still not completely buying the utopia here.
Push back. Let's hear it.
If everyone has access to this exact same tool, and everyone can generate a 1,000-word blog post in 4 minutes, won't the market just instantly flood with average, completely mediocre content? Doesn't the value of text just plummet to zero?
You have identified the central economic tension of this entire technological shift, and Dagger acknowledges this explicitly.
He does.
Yes. The easy stuff, what the publishing industry calls low-content publishing, like puzzle books, generic listicles, basic SEO filler, those markets will absolutely flood.
Right.
Because the barrier to entry is zero, the supply will become infinite, and basic economics dictates that the monetary value of that specific product will drop to near zero.
So if the value of generic text is zero, where is the actual money?
The sustainable business model lies in using the AI to do the heavy lifting on complex, multi-layered projects that inherently require high-level human curation, strategy, and emotional intelligence.
It's about strategy, not just typing.
Exactly. Dagger explicitly notes that ChatGPT doesn't replace the worker, it shifts the nature of their work. The freelancer must still piece the modular puzzle together, edit for rhythmic flow, rigorously check the facts, and most importantly, manage the human-client relationship.
Right. The human worker transitions from being the junior copywriter to being the editor-in-chief.
That is the perfect way to phrase it, editor-in-chief.
Let's look at a concrete example of this transition from the text. The cold outreach email.
Oh, this is a great case study.
This is something every freelancer, every sales team, every entrepreneur struggles with. Dagger shares a case study of writing an outreach email for a friend's foreign exchange advisory firm.
The progression of this specific email is a perfect masterclass in the iterative editing process we've been talking about.
So the first prompt Dagger uses is very basic. He says, write a professional cold outreach email for a foreign exchange advisory firm to a prospective client.
Right.
The AI spits out a perfectly grammatical, totally boring corporate email. Dear client, my name is so-and-so. We offer services designed to help manage foreign exchange risk.
Yawn.
Exactly. It's polite, it's accurate, and it will be immediately deleted by anyone who receives it.
It lacks a hook. It lacks any psychological urgency or personality.
So Dagger doesn't accept the first draft. He prompts it again, make the email more engaging and personal.
Okay, shifting the tone.
The AI rewrites it. Now it's adding empathetic phrases like, I know all too well how the global currency market can make or break a business.
A bit better.
It adds personal pronouns. It even adds a friendly postscript at the bottom offering to share client testimonials. It is objectively a better email.
But he doesn't stop there.
No. Dagger decides to push the probability space to the extreme. He types, rewrite that cold approach email in the style of Elon Musk.
And the resulting text is highly illustrative of the AI's ability to instantly capture and deploy specific linguistic markers.
Okay, it's hilarious. Listen to the shift in tone. It outputs, yo recipient's name. It's your name, the founder of company name, the future of foreign exchange advisory.
Yo.
Right. I bet you're tired of traditional firms that are not equipped to handle the rapidly changing market. Let me tell you, we're different. We're not just in the business of managing currency risk. We're the business of creating opportunities, and we're damn good at it.
It's so aggressive.
Let's schedule a call, and let's change the game.
Now, what is interesting mechanically is that Dagger notes the AI actually generated a warning before providing that text.
Oh, did it?
Yes. It stated that Musk's highly aggressive colloquial style might not be appropriate for standard professional cold outreach.
Which is a very fair warning.
Very fair.
If you send an email starting with yo to a conservative banking executive, you're not getting the meeting.
But the extremity of the example demonstrates the agility of the tool. You can dial the tone up and down like a volume knob.
Right.
You can ask it to be 20% more formal or 10% more humorous until you find the exact harmonic resonance that matches your specific brand identity.
That's a great way to put it. Harmonic resonance.
He does the exact same thing with customer service. He generates a polite but immovably firm template for refusing a customer refund based on strict store policy.
Oh, taking the human anxiety out of it.
It strips the anxiety and emotion out of a difficult human interaction.
He also uses a classic marketing framework, the AGAIA framework, which stands for Attention, Interest, Desire, Action to write an ad for a drone. He doesn't have to explain the psychology of marketing to the AI. He just says, write an ad using the AIDA framework for a drone that has a big battery and a 4K camera.
And it just does it.
The AI instantly structures the pitch. It writes, attention, are you tired of your drone running out of battery mid-flight? Introducing the new and improved drone.
It's plug-and-play psychology.
It takes raw, dry technical specs and applies a proven psychological framework to them instantly.
Which brings us to a crucial underlying capability of this technology that enables all of these complex outputs.
Context.
Exactly. The AI isn't just generating text in a vacuum, responding to single prompts in isolation. It possesses what we call contextual memory within a given session.
This is a massive shift. This is where we move away from purely business applications and look at how this impacts personal life, macro industries like diet, fitness, and education.
Yes.
Dagger argues that context is king.
To truly understand why contextual memory is a paradigm shift, we have to contrast it with traditional search again.
Okay, let's do that.
Think about a traditional search for a diet plan. You open a browser and search vegetarian diet plan for weight loss.
Right.
You receive millions of results. You click the top link. It is a static, generic template. The website has no idea who you are. It doesn't know your age, your current weight, your metabolic rate, or your specific aversions.
Right. You are forced to try and fit your specific, highly individual life into a generic, one-size-fits-all template.
Exactly. Dagger demonstrates how this technology completely flips that dynamic. You aren't searching for a pre-existing template. You are generating a dynamic, interconnected database tailored entirely to your hyper-specific constraints.
The example Dagger uses in the book is incredibly precise.
It is.
He types into the prompt, as a dietitian, give me a 2-week diet plan with a caloric breakdown for a vegetarian male aged 35, weighing 220 pounds and 6 feet tall.
Look at all those variables.
I know. I want to lose 2 pounds a week. Keep the macros at 50% carbs, 15% fats, and 35% protein.
Look at the density of that prompt. It assigns a professional persona, provides precise physical parameters, states a specific biological goal, and applies strict nutritional constraints.
And the machine spits out a day-by-day, meal-by-meal breakdown.
Right down to the calories.
Day 1, breakfast 1 cup oatmeal, mixed berries, chopped almonds 307 calories, lunch grilled vegetable wrap 285 calories. It calculates the math to hit the exact macro percentages requested.
Which is impressive on its own.
But here's the magic trick. After the diet is fully generated, Dagger doesn't open a new window to find a workout.
No.
He stays in the same chat and simply types. Now, keeping the diet in mind, generate a workout plan for the same individual.
That phrase, keeping the diet in mind, is the mechanical linchpin.
How does it know what that means?
To understand how the AI does this, we have to look briefly at what computer scientists call the context window or token limit. When you type a new prompt into a chat session, the AI doesn't just read that new sentence. It essentially rereads the entire previous chat history up to its memory limit every single time.
It rereads the whole conversation.
Yes. It uses an attention mechanism to weigh the importance of all the previous words. So when it reads generate a workout, its attention mechanism is actively referencing the fact that the user is 220 pounds vegetarian and restricted to a specific caloric deficit.
So it knows not to prescribe an exhaustive 2-hour heavy lifting session if the diet plan it just wrote only provides 1,800 calories a day.
Exactly.
It generates a complementary regimen. Monday, 30-minute steady-state cardio.
Yeah.
Tuesday, full body strength training. It ensures the physical output perfectly aligns with the nutritional input it just prescribed.
It connects disparate domains of knowledge, nutrition, and kinesiology and applies them to a single user profile.
Think about the macro implications of this for a second. Think about what this means for the $100 billion health, wellness, and coaching industry.
It's staggering.
If a single, well-crafted prompt can instantly replace a generic $150 consultation with a nutritionist and a personal trainer, the entire business model of online coaching has to pivot.
Absolutely.
They can no longer charge purely for information delivery because the information is free and perfectly tailored. The human industry has to pivot entirely to accountability, emotional support, and human connection.
That is a profound observation. The value shifts from the prescription of knowledge to the enforcement and encouragement of habits.
Right.
Dagger also shows how this contextual memory applies to education. He asks the AI to act as a teacher and generate 50 multiple-choice questions for a 5th grade science class.
Covering topics like avious rocks, photosynthesis, and germination.
Right. And a human teacher could easily spend 3 hours writing 50 high-quality, age-appropriate, multiple-choice questions with plausible distractors. You know, those are the wrong answers that look right.
Oh, writing the wrong answers is the hardest part.
Precisely. However, Dagger provides a very necessary caveat here. He notes that manual curation by the human teacher is still absolutely required.
Why is that?
Because mechanically, the AI can sometimes fall into repetitive loops with the wrong answer choices.
Oh, I see.
If it generates a question about rocks and the wrong answers are water and gas, 3 questions later, it might use water and gas as the wrong answers again. It favors high probability tokens.
So it gets lazy with the distractors.
Very lazy.
You can't just blindly hit print and hand the test to the kid. You have to read it. But, I mean, reading and tweaking 50 questions takes 10 minutes. Writing them from scratch takes an entire evening.
Exactly. The time savings are still massive.
So the overarching question becomes, what does all this time saving actually lead to? If you have used these prompting techniques to compress a 40-hour work week into 10 hours, what do you do with the remaining 30 hours? You don't just sit there.
No, you build assets.
Right.
This is the pivot point in Dagger's thesis. He transitions the focus away from trading time for money like the freelancer and moves toward long-term wealth creation, building a passive income engine.
It's where we get into the holy grail of internet entrepreneurship, making money while you sleep.
Everyone's dream.
But, as we established earlier, the easy stuff, the generic puzzle books, is going to flood and go to zero. So Dagger explicitly advises avoiding low-effort, low-content markets.
Yes.
You want to build complex, interconnected digital assets that generate royalties, affiliate commissions, or ad revenue over time.
He provides 4 primary avenues for this compounding asset creation: ebooks, YouTube channels, affiliate blogs, and online courses.
Let's look at the ebook workflow because it truly demonstrates the compound value of iterative prompting.
Let's do it.
He walks through creating a book from scratch. Let's say you want to write a book about getting away from screens. First, he has the AI brainstorm the specific niche. Then it creates the title Unplugged, the ultimate guide to digital detoxing. It builds the overall book outline. Then it breaks down the chapters. It writes the 250-word introduction.
But the true value is that the workflow doesn't stop at the content creation.
No.
It bleeds seamlessly into marketing, logistics, and sales strategy.
Yes. Because the AI remembers the entire context of the book it just helped write. Dagger uses it to write the sales page description for Amazon.
Brilliant.
Then he asks us to write a marketing email to send to his newsletter promoting the book. Then a punchy Twitter announcement to hype the release.
The whole launch package.
He even asked the AI for a competitive pricing strategy on Amazon, and the AI analyzes the market trends for nonfiction digital wellness books and suggests pricing it between $2.99 and $4.99.
It's doing market research.
The AI acted as the author, the copywriter, the publicist, and the market analyst, all in one continuous thread.
And that same end-to-end multidisciplinary process applies to YouTube. Dagger generates a script for a video called Beginner's Guide to Planting an Herb Garden. It gives him the high-retention intro hook, the main content broken down by soil, light, and temperature, and the outro call to action to subscribe.
A perfect YouTube structure.
Furthermore, he explicitly mentions synthesizing this workflow with secondary AI tools like Pictory AI, which can automatically pull stock footage and generate a voiceover based on the script.
So you can create high-quality videos without ever having to buy a camera or show your face.
The faceless YouTube channel industry is massive, and this puts it on steroids.
And then there's affiliate blogging. Dagger generates a comparison review of the top 5 drones. He specifically pits the PowerVision PowerEye against the DJI Mavic Air 2.
Very specific.
He asks the AI to break down the camera quality, the battery life, and the flight experience for each one. The business model is simple. You post this highly detailed comparison, drop your affiliate tracking links into the text, and collect a commission when a reader clicks through and buys a drone.
Or consider the architecture of an online course.
Oh, this is huge.
Dagger uses the AI to brainstorm a personal finance course specifically focused on retirement planning. The AI builds a logically sequenced, section-by-section syllabus. Section 1 is understanding retirement accounts, Section 2 is creating a savings plan, and so on.
It just lays out the whole curriculum.
Then it generates the assessment quizzes for the end of each module. You could take that generated syllabus, record yourself talking through the bullet points, upload the video files to a platform like Udemy or Skillshare, and you have instantly created a digital product that can be sold infinitely.
Okay, all of that involves generating text and content. It's impressive, but it's still just words.
Right.
Here is where my mind truly melted when I read the source material. Dagger introduces what I can only call the coding revelation.
Yes. This represents a fundamental seismic leap in what non-technical individuals are capable of accomplishing.
It's insane.
We are moving from content creation to software creation.
Dagger shows how a person who does not know a single thing about computer science can build functioning software.
Zero coding knowledge required.
He starts small with a classic FizzBuzz test in C++S. For anyone who isn't a programmer, FizzBuzz is this standard, almost cliche interview question.
Right.
You have to write a program that prints numbers from 1 to 100, but for multiples of 3, it prints the word fizz. For multiples of 5, it prints buzz. And for multiples of both, it prints FizzBuzz.
It is a basic test of logical structuring and conditional loops.
Right. And the AI spits out the perfect C++ code in seconds. But then Dagger scales it up.
What does he build next?
He asks the AI to build a VAT calculator, a value-added tax calculator using HTML, JavaScript, and CSS.
Okay, getting more complex.
For a non-coder, those 3 languages interacting can be incredibly confusing. So Dagger just tells the AI to put all the code into one single file, so he doesn't have to figure out how to link different code files together on his computer.
Clever constraint.
And it works. You click the file, a browser opens, and you have a working calculator. But the crowning achievement in the book, the moment that really made me sit back, is the Chrome extension.
The Chrome extension case study is remarkable because it requires a specific architectural structure, not just a single script.
Right.
Dagger asks the AI to write the complete functional code for a Google Chrome extension that blocks distracting websites to help users stay focused.
And the AI generates the entire code base. Now, I want to explain why this is so crazy to a normal person.
Please do.
A Chrome extension is basically a mini website that lives inside your browser. To make it work, you need multiple files talking to each other.
Yes.
You need a file called manifest.json, which is basically the map or the rule book that tells Chrome what the extension is. You need a background.js file, which is the engine running invisibly in the background. You need a popup.html file, which is the physical menu you see when you click the little icon.
The whole ecosystem.
The AI writes all of them, hundreds of lines of interconnected code. But Dagger knows his reader is going to look at that wall of code and think, what on earth do I do with this gibberish?
The output of code is useless if the user doesn't know the deployment mechanism.
Exactly. So Dagger includes the follow-up prompt. He literally asks the AI, now what do I do next to make this a working extension?
And the AI seamlessly shifts from acting as a software developer to acting as a technical support tutor.
Which is amazing.
It provides clear, step-by-step deployment instructions. Create a folder. Save the files with these exact names. Open your Chrome browser. Go to the extensions page. Toggle on developer mode. Click the button that says Load Unpacked. Select the folder you just made. Done.
Just like that.
You now have a working, customized piece of software running on your machine.
You could theoretically take that extension, upload it to the Chrome Web Store, charge $1 for it, and you just became a software developer without writing or understanding a single line of syntax.
Yes.
What does this mean for the future of software engineering?
What's fascinating here is that the very definition of programming is fundamentally shifting.
Oh.
For decades, coding required the meticulous memorization and writing of syntax, knowing exactly where to put the semicolon, knowing exactly how to structure a while loop in Python versus JavaScript.
Learning the language.
Exactly. Coding is now shifting away from syntax memorization and moving toward the management of logic.
Wow.
If you, the human, can clearly articulate the logic, the rules, and the step-by-step requirements of a software application in plain English, the AI acts as your syntax writer. Language has become the new programming code.
Language is the new programming code. That is such a profound concept.
It really is.
It means the barrier to creating digital tools is no longer a 4-year computer science degree. The barrier is clarity of thought and the ability to give precise, logical instructions. The premium is placed entirely on systems thinking.
However, it is absolutely vital that we do not portray this technology as flawless, omnipotent magic.
Good point. We need a reality check.
And to his credit, Dagger dedicates a crucial section of the book to navigating the severe limitations of the platform. If you try to build a business without understanding the mechanics of these flaws, you will fail. This is our reality check.
Yes, we need to talk about the guardrails. Because if you just listen to the last 50 minutes of us talking, you might think you can just press a button, launch a software company, write a best-selling book, and become a millionaire by tomorrow morning.
Which is definitely not the case.
But the system has deep structural flaws.
Several significant ones. First, at the time Dagger wrote this in 2023, he highlights what is known as the cutoff.
Right, the data cutoff.
The model's training data literally stopped at a specific date in 2021. It had a hard temporal wall. It possessed absolutely no knowledge of current events past that date.
It was frozen in time.
Now, while newer iterations of these models are gaining live internet access and continuously updated data sets, the fundamental mechanical limitation remains, and AI only knows what it has ingested or what it can successfully retrieve. It has massive, invisible blind spots.
Right. And then there were the mechanical limits of output. We talked about this briefly with the ebook generation.
Yes, the token limits.
The system cannot write a 40,000-word book in a single generation. It usually exhausts its output memory and stops mid-sentence around 2,500 to 3,000 words. You have to literally babysit the generation and tell it to keep going.
There is also the profound issue of nuance and hallucination.
Oh, this is a big one.
Dagger points out that the model has significant difficulty with figurative language, deep sarcasm, or irony.
It doesn't get the joke.
It really doesn't. If you ask it to write a sarcastic essay, it doesn't write like Mark Twain. It produces a very heavy-handed, almost cartoonish, exaggerated version of sarcasm. It lacks the subtle, lived-in context of real human communication. Furthermore, it will confidently hallucinate facts.
The hallucination aspect is fascinating. I heard a great analogy for this once.
Oh, let's hear it.
When the AI is generating text, it is essentially following the core rule of improv comedy. Yes, and.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Right. If you are doing an improv scene and you ask your partner about a historical event that never happened, they don't stop the scene and say, actually, that didn't happen.
They roll with it.
They confidently invent a fake historical fact to keep the conversation flowing. The AI does the exact same thing to satisfy the prompt.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. The model is designed to be helpful and generative, sometimes at the expense of factual accuracy.
It's just dangerous.
Very. It will invent legal precedents, fake citations, and non-existent books just to fulfill the parameters of your request. This is why the human must remain the editor-in-chief.
But the most critical limitations, Dagger warns about the ones that could actually get a company in trouble, involve data privacy and the nature of the training data itself.
This is paramount for anyone using this in a corporate setting. The model is essentially a mirror. It reflects the historical data it was trained on. Therefore, it can sometimes output information that is structurally biased, skewed, or culturally inaccurate. based on the imbalances present in its massive, unfiltered training data.
It learned from humans, and humans have biases.
Exactly. If you ask it to generate profiles of corporate executives for a presentation, it might skew heavily towards certain demographics unless you explicitly prompt it to be diverse. It defaults to the statistical majority of its training set.
And regarding privacy, Dagger strictly warns against feeding the AI sensitive personal information, proprietary code, or unreleased company financial data.
This cannot be overstated.
It's a huge security risk.
When you type information into a standard public LLM prompt, you are interacting with a cloud-based server. Depending on the specific user agreements, the input data you provide can potentially be absorbed and utilized by the parent company to train future versions of the model.
So if you are an accountant and you paste your company's highly confidential, unreleased Q3 financial spreadsheets into the chat box and ask the AI to write a summary of these earnings,
You might have just handed proprietary data to a public machine learning model.
you have to treat the prompt box like a public forum.
If we synthesize all of these limitations, the hallucinations, the data security risks, the contextual looping, the core thesis becomes incredibly clear.
What is that?
ChatGPT is an astoundingly powerful engine. It is a paradigm-shifting piece of technology that drastically reduces the cost of intelligence. But the human being must remain firmly at the steering wheel.
Always.
Relying blindly on the output, without intense due diligence, without rigorous fact-checking, and without human editorial review, is a recipe for disaster. You will produce work that is generic, factually compromised, or a security risk.
The human is the navigator. The AI is the engine. Okay, let's pull all of these threads together. We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We've seen how you listening right now, can use this technology to write functional software without knowing how to code, design comprehensive 12-week online courses, execute end-to-end marketing campaigns across multiple platforms, and even craft highly tailored personal diet and fitness regimens that rival expensive consultants.
And the unifying thread running through every single one of those applications is mastering the art of the prompt.
The new superpower.
It requires shifting your mindset from querying a static search engine to actively directing a collaborative companion. It requires using frameworks like the ACT as prompt to constrain the AI's vast probability space, forcing it to generate high-value, highly specific output instead of the average of the internet.
It all comes back to that Steve Jobs-style introduction Dagger generated at the very beginning of his book. How can you use this tool today to eliminate the mundane, energy-draining, repetitive tasks in your life so you can elevate your actual creative, strategic, or professional output?
That is the real question.
That is the immediate challenge for all of us.
And as we close this deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought that extrapolates on everything we've discussed today.
I'd love to hear it.
We have established that the AI can perfectly mimic an aggressive Elon Musk sales email. It can architect and code a functional Chrome extension in seconds, and it can outline and draft a best-selling book before you've even finished your morning coffee.
Right.
So, what happens to the inherent value of human expertise?
That really is the ultimate question of this decade.
I would argue that in a world where content, text, and code become infinitely abundant and incredibly cheap to produce, the most valuable currency left won't be what you can produce.
Because production is a solved problem.
Exactly. Production is a solved problem. The most valuable currency will be your unique human perspective, your lived experience in the physical world, and the specific, highly cultivated taste you use to curate, edit, and select the machine's output. The AI can effortlessly write 1,000 different songs in a minute. But only a human being with genuine taste can tell you which one of those songs will actually make people want to dance.
Taste as the final currency.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And it brings us right back to the very beginning of the hour. The traditional diagnostic X-ray machine of how we value work, how we value time, and how we value intelligence is officially broken.
It really is.
We're in entirely new, uncharted waters, and the velocity, remember, 1 million users in 5 days is only increasing. But hopefully, after unpacking Dagger's framework today, you have a much better idea of how to navigate these waters without sinking. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Go experiment with the prompts we discussed, but keep your hands firmly on the wheel. We will see you next time. What will you ask the companion to build today?